Hi there. Today we are peeling back the moon-soaked silk and shadow myth of the ninja to reveal the shivering, mud-caked reality beneath. Picture it, a silent figure, black-clad and cat-like, scaling a castle wall under a sliver of a moon. A whisper of movement, a flicker of steel, and the mission is complete. This is the image that has captivated us for centuries, the ultimate icon of silent deadly grace. But the life that forged such a person was anything but graceful. In fact, it was a brutal, short, and profoundly miserable existence. Frankly, you probably won't survive this. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is there. It's always fascinating to see where these stories land. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your story doesn't begin with a choice. There is no career fair, no thoughtful mentor presenting you with a life of thrilling espionage. There is only mud hunger and the gnawing terror of uncertainty. You are born into a world tearing itself apart. The land is fractured, carved up by ambitious warlords, the daimyo, who wage constant bloody war against one another. This is the Sengoku period, the warring states era of Japan, a century-and-a-half-long storm of violence and betrayal. For the samurai class, it is a time of grim opportunity and honor. For the emperor, in his distant palace, it is a time of gilded irrelevance. But for you, for the 80% of the population born as peasants, it is simply a nightmare. You are not even a statistic. You are a resource as expendable as a bushel of rice or a draft animal. When a samurai army marches through your village, your family's stored food is taken, your older sister might be taken, and your father, if he protests, is cut down where he stands. There is no recourse, no justice. The local lord, who was meant to protect you, was probably killed last season, his castle now occupied by the very men looting your home. This is the air you breathe. The metallic tang of spilled blood is as common a smell as the wood smoke from your neighbor's hut. You learn early that the world is divided into predators and prey, and you are most certainly not the former. Your village is a collection of wooden thatch hovels, huddled together for warmth and the illusion of safety. The floor of your home is packed earth cold and damp against your bare feet. In winter, the wind slices through the thin walls, and you and your siblings huddle together under a single straw-stuffed blanket, your breath pluming in the frigid air. Your diet consists of millet barley and the occasional vegetable from a small, fiercely guarded plot of land. Rice is a luxury, something you might taste once or twice a year, usually reserved for tax payments to a lord you've never seen. Meat is a fantasy. Your stomach is a hollow, aching knot. This constant grinding poverty is the first tool that shapes you. It strips away any notion of a bright future, leaving only the grim calculus of survival. One day, a man visits your village. He doesn't look like a samurai. He's dressed like a traveling merchant or a monk, unremarkable in every way. But he moves with a quiet purpose, and his eyes miss nothing. He speaks to your father in low tones, away from the prying ears of the village elders. There is no talk of honor or glory. He speaks of a different kind of war, a war fought in the shadows, not on the battlefield. He talks about a way to turn the tables, to use the contempt of the ruling class against them, to become a ghost, a whisper, a tool for a different kind of master, one who will at least pay. Historians still argue whether ninja clans were formal, Hereditary schools passed down through generations, or simply loose-knit guilds of mercenaries that recruited from the desperate. For you, the distinction is meaningless. What this man offers is a way out that isn't starvation or a pointless death on a battlefield. He is recruiting. He is looking for children. Children who are small enough to be unnoticeable, light enough to be nimble, and young enough to be molded. Children whose families are desperate enough to give them up. This isn't an adoption. It's a transaction. Your father receives a small pouch of coins enough to feed the rest of your family for a year. It's a bitter pill, but in a world of impossible choices, it's the only one that makes sense. You don't understand the words, but you understand the finality in your mother's embrace, the way she won't meet your eyes. You are a commodity now. Perhaps your family is even lower on the social ladder. Maybe you are part of the Burakumin, the untouchable class. These were the people who did the unclean jobs, leather tanning, butchering, handling the dead. They lived in segregated hamlets, reviled and feared by the rest of society. For them, the offer from a shadow dweller isn't just a way out of poverty. It's a way out of a predetermined life of absolute scorn. To be a ninja, a being outside the formal class structure, is in a strange way a step up. It's a leap into a different kind of darkness. But at least it's a leap. You trade one form of ostracization for another more purposeful kind. You won't miss the sideways glances and muttered curses in the village, that's for sure. Your new life may be harsh, but the old one was a cage of quiet degradation. So, you leave. You walk away from the only hovel you've ever called home following the stranger. There is no tearful goodbye. Emotions are a luxury, and you have been weaned off them by hardship. Your life as a person, a son, a brother is over. Your new life as a weapon in the making has just begun. The path ahead leads into the mountains, into a hidden village where the real work, the real pain will start. You have been born into utter desperation, and now you have been sold into the shadows. The journey into the mountains is a blur of exhaustion. The man who bought you isn't cruel, but he is silent and relentless. You walk until your feet are blistered and bleeding, then you walk more. You eat when he eats a handful of dried grains and a sip of water from a stream, and you sleep when he stops curled up on the cold, hard ground. There's no comfort, only a steady forward momentum. You are leaving the world of men and entering the world of shadows. The village, when you finally arrive, is not what you expected. It's nestled in a remote, mist-shrouded valley, deliberately hidden and fortified by nature itself. It looks almost like your old village, a collection of simple thatch-roofed huts. But there's a difference. There's a quiet intensity here, a sense of purpose that hangs in the air thick as the mountain fog. This is not a place of farming. It's a factory, and its product is you. Your childhood officially ends the moment you arrive. You are herded together with other children, all with the same hollow, watchful eyes. There are no games here, no laughter. This isn't the sort of summer camp that gets a glossy brochure. Your training begins at dawn, and it begins with pain. The goal of this initial phase is simple and brutal, to systematically break your body down and rebuild it into something else. To transform a soft, fragile child into a hardened, resilient tool. You start by running. You run up steep mountain paths, your lungs burning, your legs screaming for rest. If you fall behind, you are not coddled or encouraged. You are struck with a thin bamboo switch that leaves a stinging welt on your calves. The message is clear. Keep up or suffer. Pain is your primary teacher. You are taught to climb, not on practice walls with safety ropes, but on sheer rock faces, your small fingers and toes searching for purchase in the unforgiving stone. You learn to move like a spider, to trust your grip, even when your muscles tremble with fatigue. You fall. Of course you fall. The first time it's only a few feet, and the shock of the impact knocks the wind out of you. The instructors watch with cold indifference. You are expected to get up and start climbing again, your bruised ribs, a stark reminder of the cost of failure. The fear of falling is gradually replaced by a deep instinctual understanding of balance and momentum. Your body learns what your mind cannot yet grasp. You become a creature of instinct, your movements economical and precise. Then comes the conditioning. This is where the true torment lies. You spend hours in a low, horse-like stance until your thighs feel like they're on fire. You hold heavy rocks above your head until your arms give out, dropping them with a gasp, only to be ordered to pick them up again. Your instructors use wooden staves to strike your arms, your shins, your back over and over. This isn't random cruelty. It's a technique. Modern martial arts historians and scholars debate just how much of this legendary training is fact and how much is later folklore. But the core principle was undeniable hardening the body. The constant rhythmic impacts are meant to deaden nerves and toughen the skin and bone. The first few weeks are a symphony of deep purple bruises. It feels less like training and more like a sustained methodical beating. There are no safety waivers to sign here. Your hands, the most important tools you will ever possess, are given special attention. You are made to punch and claw at posts wrapped in straw rope, tearing your knuckles raw. When they heal, the skin grows back thicker, calloused. You thrust your fingers into boxes of sand, then gravel, then beans, strengthening them until they feel like iron talons. You are taught to hang from tree branches first for a few seconds, then for minutes on end, your entire body weight supported by the strength of your grip. At night, you soothe your mangled hands in buckets of brine and herbal mixtures meant to speed the healing and toughen the flesh. It stings a sharp cleansing fire that promises only more pain tomorrow. Every part of your day is a lesson. A simple walk across a courtyard becomes a drill in silent movement. You are taught to control your breathing, to place each footfall with absolute deliberation, heel to toe, making no sound. A game of tag in the woods is an exercise in evasion and camouflage. You learn to use shadows to melt behind trees to become one with the environment. You spend hours submerged up to your neck in icy mountain streams, learning to control your body's shivering response to the cold. It's a battle of will against your own physiology. You learn that discomfort is a constant and that complaining about it is pointless. Your only reward for enduring today's agony is the promise of a more advanced and therefore more excruciating form of training tomorrow. You are also taught to be limber. Your joints are stretched and contorted into positions that feel unnatural and agonizing. Instructors will press down on your back, forcing you into deeper splits, ignoring your whimpers of pain. The goal is to make your body as pliable as rubber, able to squeeze through impossibly small spaces, a narrow window, a gap beneath a floor. There's a bizarre and cruel logic to it all. One of your trainers, a grim-faced man with a network of scars on his forearms, explains it to you once in a rare moment of verbal instruction. He says that a sword is forged in fire and hammered into shape. It is broken and reforged time and again until it is strong, sharp, and without weakness. You are no different. You are human steel, and this is your forge. It's a surprisingly poetic speech for a man whose main job is hitting children with sticks. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, your body begins to change. The constant hunger and grueling exercise keep you lean and wiry. The endless conditioning turns your skin to leather and your bones to ironwood. You can run all day without tiring, climb any surface, and endure pain that would have once made you faint. Your childhood has been systematically erased, scrubbed away by a tidal wave of hardship. In its place is something new, a living weapon honed by misery, ready to be taught how to kill. Your body now, a hardened instrument of pain and endurance, needs fuel. But you are not fed for strength or for comfort. You are fed for stealth. You learn that food is not for pleasure. It is another tool, another discipline to be mastered. The meals in your mountain training camp are meager, monotonous, and meticulously designed. This isn't a gourmet cooking program where you explore the subtle notes of umami. Your diet is a masterclass in bland, joyless efficiency. Forget the rich broths, grilled fish, and pristine white rice enjoyed by the samurai lords you will one day be hired to spy on. That is the food of the enemy. Your food is the food of ghosts. Your daily intake is a carefully controlled regimen of brown rice, millet tofu, and wild vegetables foraged from the mountainside. Everything is boiled. Nothing is fried or heavily seasoned. You learn that strong spices and animal products, particularly red meat and fish, are forbidden. The instructors explain the cold logic such foods produce strong body odors. When you are hiding under a floorboard for 10 hours, the last thing you want is for a guard dog or a guard with a sensitive nose to pick up your scent. You are being conditioned to be as odorless as a stone. This means no garlic, no onions, no savory sauces. Just the bland, gritty texture of boiled grains and the earthy taste of roots and leaves. You are always hungry. It's a dull, constant ache in the pit of your stomach that never truly goes away. This, too, is part of the training. You are taught to function while hungry, to push through the lightheadedness and the weakness. Hunger is just another form of discomfort, like the cold or the sting of a bamboo switch, and it must be ignored. You learn that an overfull stomach makes you sluggish and sleepy, the two cardinal sins of an infiltrator. A light stomach, they tell you, keeps the senses sharp, the mind clear, and the body agile. It's a nice way of saying you'll be perpetually malnourished, but the reasoning has a certain undeniable, if unpleasant, logic. Beyond your daily gruel, you are taught to prepare the specialized rations of a shinobi on a mission. The most important of these are the infamous hunger balls, or hyorogen. You spend days learning the recipe. It's not exactly a coveted family secret passed down with love. You take brown rice, grind it into a fine powder, and mix it with lotus root yams and crushed umeboshi sour pickled plums. You add some cane sugar for energy and bind it all together with a bit of water, or for a more potent version, sake. Then you roll the gritty, brownish paste into small balls and let them dry. The result is a compact, nutrient-dense pellet that can supposedly sustain a person for days. The taste is challenging. Imagine a blend of chalk, sour dirt, and faint sweetness. They are incredibly dry, and you need to chew them slowly and deliberately to avoid choking. But they are lightweight. They don't spoil quickly, and 3 of them a day are enough to keep you from collapsing. You also learn to make thirst balls, or suikatsugan, which use pulverized umeboshi pulp to stimulate saliva production and trick your body into feeling less thirsty. This is the haute cuisine of your new world. It's not about flavor. It's about survival. You pack these little balls of misery into small pouches, your only companions on a long solitary mission. Historians and nutritionists still debate the long-term efficacy of such a restrictive diet. While it might be practical for a week-long mission, subsisting on this for months or years would inevitably lead to severe deficiencies. Scurvy, anemia, and a host of other malnutrition-related illnesses would have been a constant threat. The romantic image of the ninja as a perfectly healthy superhuman athlete crumbles when you consider the reality of their nutrition. You're not getting a balanced portfolio of vitamins and minerals. You are essentially running a high-performance engine on dirty, low-grade fuel. And sooner or later, that engine is going to break down. You learn that nature is your true pantry. Your instructors teach you to identify edible plants, roots, and fungi in the wild. You learn which berries will kill you, which mushrooms will make you hallucinate, and which leaves can be made into a passable, if bitter, tea. This knowledge is vital. When your carefully prepared hunger balls run out, you must be able to live off the land without lighting a fire that could betray your position. This means eating insect grubs and anything else that squirms and provides a morsel of protein. You get over the revulsion quickly. Hunger is a powerful motivator, and it makes a crunchy cricket seem like a reasonable, even appealing option. The psychological effect of this diet is profound. It disconnects you from one of the most fundamental human experiences, sharing a satisfying meal. Food becomes purely functional, another unpleasant task to be completed. It reinforces your status as something other than normal. While the rest of the world celebrates harvests with feasts and sake, you are in the woods, silently chewing on a bitter root. It's another brick in the wall of isolation that is being built around you, separating you from the very people you move amongst. The benefits package for being a ninja is looking worse and worse, and it definitely doesn't include dental. Your teeth, starved of calcium and assaulted by gritty grains, will likely begin to ache and loosen before you reach adulthood. It's just one more part of your body that is being sacrificed for the mission. You are being taught to endure to survive on grime and willpower, but never ever to thrive. Now that your body has been turned into a hardened weapon and your diet into a science of joyless survival, it's time to get your hands on the famous gadgets. This is the part that legends are made of: the sleek throwing stars, the ingenious climbing claws, the mystical tools of the shadow warrior. You've heard whispers about them from the older trainees. The reality you will soon discover is far less glamorous and infinitely more dangerous, mostly for you. Your tools are not mass-produced by some high-tech shadowy corporation with a robust R&D department. They are forged in smoke-filled huts by blacksmiths of questionable skill, using whatever scrap metal is available. There's no lifetime warranty here. First, you are introduced to the shuriken, the star-shaped throwing blade that is the quintessential ninja weapon in popular culture. You picture yourself flicking your wrist and sending a silent, deadly star flying through the air to instantly neutralize a guard. The truth is a bit more clumsy. The shuriken you are handed are not perfectly balanced, razor-sharp works of art. They are rust-pocked, unevenly weighted pieces of scrap metal. They are often not star-shaped at all, but four-pointed nail-like throwing darts called bow shuriken. You learn that their primary purpose is not to kill, but to distract. You throw it at a wall to make a noise, or at a guard's exposed hand to make him yelp and look away for a crucial second. Actually hitting anything with one is incredibly difficult, and lethality is almost out of the question unless you get phenomenally lucky and hit an eye. More often than not, they wobble through the air and clatter uselessly on the ground, immediately alerting everyone to your presence. So much for silent death. You also learn a painful lesson. Early on, they are sharp enough to cut you, especially when you're fumbling for one in a pouch in the dark, but rarely sharp enough to be an effective weapon against an armored opponent. You spend countless hours practicing your throw, and for every one that sticks into the straw target, a dozen have skittered off into the undergrowth. You are expected to find every single one. Metal is precious. Next, you're given a kunai. In your imagination, it's a dagger, a sleek, balanced throwing knife for close quarters combat. You are quickly disabused of this notion. The kunai you hold is a thick, heavy, leaf-shaped piece of iron with a handle wrapped in rough cloth. It is not a knife. It is a trowel. Its origins are in gardening, and masonry a humble tool for digging and prying. And that is exactly what you use it for. You use it to dig holes in soft ground, to pry at loose floorboards, and to chip away at mortar in a stone wall. It is a utility tool, a medieval multi-tool, not a primary weapon. You can certainly stab someone with it if you're in a desperate pinch, but it's heavy, awkward, and not designed for fighting. It's the equivalent of trying to fend off an attacker with a crowbar. It might work, but it's not going to be elegant. Scholars and blacksmiths who have tried to replicate these items often debate the quality of the steel available to a typical ninja clan. You don't need to be a scholar to figure it out. The samurai get the good stuff. The legendary Tamahagane steel, folded 1,000 times. You get what's left over. Your kunai is made of cheap brittle iron. If you pry too hard, it can snap, leaving you toolless at a critical moment. If you try to parry a samurai's sword with it, it will shatter, and the sword will continue on its merry way through your arm. You learn to be resourceful with it, but you never trust it completely. Then you are introduced to the tools of infiltration, starting with the grappling hook, the kaginawa. This sounds promising. You imagine firing it silently onto a rooftop and climbing gracefully up the rope. The version you are given is a clunky, multi-pronged iron hook attached to a long rope of questionable integrity, often woven from human or horse hair. Your first task is learning how to throw it accurately and, more importantly, quietly. The thunk of heavy iron hitting a castle roof is a surprisingly loud and distinctive sound. Getting it to catch on the first try is a minor miracle. More often, it scrapes loudly against the tiles before sliding off, forcing you to slowly, painstakingly pull it back and try again, all while guards patrol nearby. And then there's the climb. The rope chafes your already calloused hands, and the hook you've placed your entire life on could slip at any moment. You have to hope you hooked it on something solid, not just a loose roof tile. Many an aspiring ninja's career was cut short, not by a samurai's blade, but by shoddy equipment and a long fall onto a hard courtyard. And for climbing wooden walls or trees, you get the ashiko spiked boards that you strap to your feet. These are not sleek modern climbing crampons. They are clumsy, painful, and inefficient. The straps dig into your ankles, and the spikes often get stuck in the wood, forcing you to yank your foot free with a loud crack. or they fail to bite into hard wood, sending you sliding back down with a shower of splinters. Their user interface leaves much to be desired. You feel less like a cat and more like a drunken woodpecker. These tools are not gifts. They are burdens. You have to carry them all hidden within your clothing. They are heavy. They are awkward. They jangle if you move too quickly. You spend hours learning how to maintain them, sharpening the edges, oiling the metal to stave off the ever-present rust, rewrapping the handles. Some assembly is definitely required, and if it breaks, you're the one who has to fix it. Every piece of equipment is another potential point of failure, another thing that can betray you in the darkness. You learn to rely on your body first, the body that was so painfully and brutally conditioned. The tools are a last resort, a collection of crude and desperate gambles that might just get you killed. After learning to mistrust your own equipment, you are ready to be clothed. And this is where the most iconic image of all comes into play, the shinobi shozoku, the legendary all-black pajama-like suit with the mysterious hood and face mask. It's the uniform of the night, the garb of invisibility. You've seen senior members of the clan training in dark-colored outfits, and you assume it's finally your turn to don the cool, ominous attire of a true shadow warrior. You are once again about to be sorely disappointed. Your instructor gathers you and the other trainees and holds up your new uniform. It is not a sleek black garment of silent menace. It is a pile of dirty, patched-up peasants' clothes. Your new uniform is a set of rough hemp-spun trousers and a simple jacket the color of mud and faded indigo. It's stiff, it's scratchy, and it smells faintly of manure. This, you are told, is the most effective camouflage you will ever possess. The all-black ninja suit is a fantasy, a ghost story. It's an invention of the theater. You learn that in Japanese kabuki and bunraku puppet, theater stagehands dress head to toe in black to signal to the audience that they are to be considered invisible. When a play called for a stealthy assassination, the playwrights had a clever idea: have one of these invisible stagehands perform the act. The audience understood the symbolism immediately, and the image of the black-clad assassin was born. It's a brilliant piece of stagecraft, but in the real world, it's suicide. Pure black, your instructor explains, is actually very conspicuous on a moonlit night. It creates a stark, human-shaped silhouette against the lighter shades of the night sky trees and buildings. True invisibility comes from blending in. And so, for nighttime infiltration, you are given clothes dyed a deep, dark navy blue or a reddish, earthy brown. Historians still debate the exact colors, but the principle is sound. These shades dissolve into the ambient darkness far better than pure black. But even these are reserved for specific missions. Your daily wear, your primary tool for espionage, is the humble, humiliating garb of a farmer. You must not only wear the disguise, you must become it. You are taught to walk with the weary slump of a field laborer, to speak in the rough dialect of a rural province. Your hands, already calloused from training, are rubbed with dirt to make them look like they've known nothing but a plow. Your face and hair are kept slightly unkempt. The goal is to be utterly unremarkable, to be one of the countless downtrodden masses that the samurai and lords barely even register as human. You must become part of the background scenery. There's a certain grim irony in the fact that after all your superhuman training, your greatest asset is the ability to look completely and utterly useless. The clothes themselves are a form of mild torture. The fabric is coarse and abrasive, constantly chafing your skin, especially in the heat of summer. It doesn't breathe, so in the humid Japanese climate, you are perpetually slick with a layer of grime and sweat. This is not some high-tech, moisture-wicking fabric. After a day of moving through the countryside, the clothes are heavy with moisture and stink with an authenticity you could never fake. This is, of course, the point. You need to smell right. A peasant who smells clean is a peasant who arouses suspicion. So, you embrace the filth. It becomes your cloak of invisibility, far more effective than any mythical black suit. You also get the footwear, the straw sandals known as waraji. They are flimsy, offering almost no protection from the rocky ground, and they fall apart constantly. You learn to weave your own sitting with the other trainees and methodically twisting strands of straw together, knowing that your handiwork will likely be shredded after a week of hard travel. It's another lesson in the disposable nature of your world. Nothing is meant to last, especially not your comfort. The fashion-forward look of a 16th century farmer is really taking off on you, and it mostly involves layers of dirt and disappointment. Your training now incorporates these disguises. You might be sent to a nearby market town dressed as a peasant with a simple task: find out the price of rice without speaking to a merchant. It's a test of your observational skills, your ability to listen to conversations without seeming to fade into the bustle of the crowd. Sometimes your disguise is a little too good. A passing samurai's attendant might cuff you on the back of the head and order you to carry a heavy load for them simply because you look like a common laborer with nothing better to do. You must obey meekly. To protest to show a flicker of the lethal skill you possess would be to fail the test. It is a deep and bitter humiliation, a constant reminder of your place in the world. You are a ghost, a weapon, but hidden inside the shell of a nobody. You also learn about other disguises: the wandering monk with his face-hiding basket hat, the traveling performer with a drum, the unassuming merchant. Each has its own posture, its own way of speaking, its own set of props. But the peasant is your default setting. It is the role you will inhabit, most often the life you will project to the world. You are not the silent predator of the legends. You are the man on the side of the road that nobody looks at, twice the farmer in the field that the samurai rides past without a second thought. And from that position of utter insignificance, you watch, you listen, and you wait. The day finally comes. You are no longer a trainee, but an asset ready to be deployed. Your master summons you. There is no grand ceremony, no pep talk. He simply unrolls a crude map of a hillside castle belonging to a rival lord and points to a specific tower. Your mission is not to assassinate the lord, a task far too direct and messy. It is to infiltrate the castle, find the lord's private study, and retrieve a specific scroll from a locked chest. Or, if you cannot retrieve it, simply to confirm that you have seen it. You are a spy, an intelligence gatherer. You are given a week. The payment for this, will be disappointingly small, but the price of failure is absolute. You spend the first 6 days not as a ninja, but as the peasant you were trained to pretend to be. Remember that scratchy, manure-scented disguise. It's time to put it on. You wander the roads and work in the fields surrounding the castle, your head down, your face smudged with dirt. You are invisible. And from this vantage point, you watch. You observe the guard patrols timing their rotations. You note which sections of the wall are least visible from the watchtowers. You study the way the shadows stretch and move as the sun sets. You are a hunter, and this is the long, patient stalk that precedes the pounce. You learn that the eastern moat is shallower and filled with thick reeds that could hide your approach. You notice a section of the main wall where a recent repair has left the stones less perfectly fitted. This is your way in. Historians and security experts still debate the true effectiveness of these unbreachable Japanese castles. But from where you're standing, they look pretty formidable. They are masterpieces of defensive architecture. The massive sloping stone walls, the ishigaki, are designed to be impossible to climb directly. The grounds are covered in loose gravel that crunches loudly underfoot, a simple but brilliant security system. The entire complex is a maze of concentric baileys and gateways designed to confuse and trap invaders. The castle definitely does not have a welcome mat out. On the seventh night, under a moonless, overcast sky, you begin. You shed your peasant rags, leaving them hidden in a ditch. Beneath you wear the dark navy blue clothes of an infiltrator. You carry a minimal kit, your unreliable grappling hook, your trusty but not really trowel knife, the kunai, and a few of those miserable hunger balls for sustenance. You slip into the cold, murky water of the moat, moving with excruciating slowness through the reeds. The water is stagnant and smells of decay, and every ripple seems like a tidal wave in the oppressive silence. You reach the base of the great stone wall, your heart pounding a frantic rhythm against your ribs. Now for the climb. You uncoil your kaginawa, the iron hook feeling heavy and clumsy in your trembling hands. Remember how it scraped and clattered in training. You can't afford that now. You swing it once, a gentle underhand arc, aiming for the loose stonework you identified. The hook sails through the air and lands with a soft chink. Too loud. You freeze listening. You hear the distant sound of a guard coughing on the parapet above, but nothing else. He didn't hear it. You let out a breath you didn't realize you were holding. The hook seems to be holding firm. The climb is a vertical nightmare. You pull yourself up, hand over hand, your feet finding small purchase on the rough-hewn stones. Your life depends entirely on a cheap iron hook and a rope woven from horsehair. Every foot you gain is a victory against gravity and terror. Halfway up, a stone loosens under your foot and clatters down the wall, splashing into the moat below. You press yourself flat against the cold stone, every muscle tensed, certain that this is it. This is the moment you are discovered. You wait for what feels like an eternity, listening to the pounding of your own blood in your ears. Nothing. The guards are either lazy deaf, or you are just incredibly lucky. You continue the climb, your nerves frayed to the breaking point. Finally, your hand closes over the top of the wall. You haul yourself over, landing in a silent crouch on the other side. You are inside the outer compound. The first obstacle is cleared, but the fear only intensifies. You are in the lion's den now. The courtyard is a wide open space of raked gravel. Crossing it is impossible. You stick to the deep shadows at the base of the wall, moving inch by agonizing inch toward the main keep. Every sense is on fire. You can smell the charcoal from the braziers in the guard towers. You can hear the chirping of crickets, and you know that if they suddenly go silent, it means someone is approaching. As you near a small auxiliary building, you suddenly freeze. You hear a low sound, a guttural hissing. It's not a dog. You peer around the corner and see them, a half-dozen geese milling about in a small pen. Guard geese. A quirky but terrifyingly effective security measure. They are light sleepers with phenomenal eyesight, and their honking alarm is more piercing and panic-inducing than any dog's bark. These feathered sentinels are the real elite guards around here. Bribing them with a piece of dried meat is not an option. You must backtrack, giving them a wide berth, your planned route now useless. This is the reality of infiltration. It is not a graceful dance. It is a slow, ugly, terrifying crawl. It is a series of gut-wrenching moments where your life hangs by a thread. One wrong step, one loud noise, one unlucky encounter with a goose, and your mission is over. And failure does not mean you simply go back to your master empty-handed. It means capture. It means being surrounded by angry samurai who will not give you a clean death. It means being tortured for information about your master, your clan, your techniques. You know that if you are caught, you will face an agony that makes your childhood training look like a pleasant holiday. And with that certainty chilling your soul, you take another silent step into the darkness. You've bypassed the geese and the gravel courtyard, and now you're pressed against the wooden foundation of the main keep itself. The real work begins. Your target is the Lord's study, but you can't just walk in. You need to get beneath it. Using your kunai, not as a weapon, but as the crude, prying tool it truly is, you work at the latticework of a small ventilation grate near the ground. The wood is old and soft with damp. It splinters and groans, each sound an electric shock to your nerves. Finally, a section gives way, and you slide headfirst into the darkness beneath the castle. This is the Engawa no Shida, the space under the veranda and floorboards. It is your new home. The air is thick with the smell of damp earth mildew and the faint, unpleasant scent of preserved vegetables from a nearby storeroom. The space is barely tall enough for you to crawl on your belly. Your world shrinks to a long, dark tunnel of dirt foundation stones and the massive wooden beams that support the floor above you. Cobwebs thick as cotton break across your face, and you feel the skittering of unseen things: spiders, centipedes, rats fleeing from your presence. You are one of them now, a creature of the dirt and the dark. You inch your way forward, following the layout of the castle that you painstakingly memorized from your master's crude map. You can hear the life of the castle above you, the muffled thud of footsteps, the faint murmur of conversations, the clatter of a dropped plate from the kitchens. You are directly beneath the samurai quarters. Their casual talk is of no use to you. You need to get to the Lord's private wing. The crawl seems to take hours, your knees and elbows raw from the rough ground. Finally, based on the position of the moon, you glimpse through a crack. You believe you are beneath the study. You press your ear against the underside of the floorboards, straining to listen. You can hear voices, but they are indistinct, the words lost in the thick wood. You can make out the Lord's gruff tone, but not what he's saying. This is useless. You need to get closer. You crawl around the foundation of the room, looking for a better listening post. And then you see it. A small stone-lined chute that descends from the floor of the room above into a dark pit. It is the Lord's private latrine. A wave of nausea rolls over you. You understand immediately what you have to do. All that training to be odorless, the bland diet designed to prevent you from offending a guard's nose, it all leads to this moment of supreme stinking irony. Historians debate how common such extreme methods truly were, but ninja manuals, like the famous Bansen Shukai, describe a mindset where no act was considered too degrading if it achieved the mission's objective. This is the ultimate test of that principle. Your mission is to get information, and the clearest audio in this entire fortress is right down that hole. This isn't the corner office you were hoping for. Taking a slow, steadying breath, a technique you learned to control pain, now used to control your gag reflex. You lower yourself into the pit. The filth is not deep, perhaps only up to your knees, but the stench is overwhelming. It's a thick, suffocating cloud of human waste and decay that claws at the back of your throat and makes your eyes water. You sink into the muck, trying to control your breathing, fighting against every instinct in your body that is screaming at you to climb out, to run, to breathe clean air. This is the glamour of espionage. This is the reality behind the legends of shadow warriors. Not a cool rooftop duel, but you standing knee-deep in a lord's toilet praying you don't have to stay here for long. But you do. The Lord is a man of tedious habits. He talks and talks. You are forced to wait motionless in the disgusting darkness as the conversation from the room above drifts down to you with perfect clarity. And you listen. You hear about troop movements, about a secret alliance with another clan, about a planned betrayal. You hear the name of the man who is the intended target. This is the scroll you were sent for, but in audible form. This is the prize. You commit every word to memory, burning the details into your mind. This is what your master is paying for. All of this, the fear, the filth, the degradation, is in service of these few whispered sentences. You block out your physical reality. You focus only on the voices. You become nothing but a pair of ears. A servant enters and the conversation stops. You hear the shuffling of feet, the pouring of sake. You wait. The minutes stretch into an hour, then two. Your legs go numb from standing in the same position. The cold of the pit seeps into your bones. A rat, emboldened by your stillness, scurries over your submerged foot. You don't flinch. You are a statue made of filth and willpower. The things you are doing for your performance review are frankly unbelievable. Finally, the meeting concludes. The Lord and his guest leave the study. The room above goes silent. Now you have to get out. You have the information, but your ordeal is only half over. You must now climb out of this vile hole, retrace your path through the suffocating darkness, under the floor scale, back down the wall, and cross the moat, all while covered in a layer of unspeakable, incriminating foulness. You have succeeded in your mission. You have gathered the secret, but you have had to wallow in the most disgusting corner of the human world to do it, and the stench you suspect will never truly wash away. You haul your filth-caked body out from under the keep, back into the open air of the castle compound. The night is still dark, the guards still oblivious. For a moment, the clean, cool air feels like a blessing after the suffocating stench of your hiding place. And then a single drop of water hits your cheek, then another. Within minutes, a cold, steady rain begins to fall. In any other circumstance, this would be a gift, a perfect cover for your escape. Tonight, it is the beginning of a new kind of torture. The rain, you suppose, is a free cleaning service, but the trade-off is brutal. Your escape is a reversed nightmare of your entry. You slink back across the shadows of the compound, the gravel turning to a soft mush under the downpour. The rain plasters your thin, dark clothing to your skin, leaching away your body heat with shocking efficiency. You reach the great stone wall, your hands now slick with rain and numb with cold, and begin the perilous descent. The rope is slippery, your grip precarious. Your body already weakened by hours of tension and hunger begins to shake not from fear, but from the first stages of hypothermia. Every muscle fiber screams in protest. You finally drop into the moat, the cold water, a final shocking insult. You swim across your movements, sluggish your limbs, feeling like lead. You crawl onto the far bank, a shivering mud-streaked creature, and stumble into the relative cover of the forest. Your mission inside the castle is over. You have the information. But now begins the second, equally dangerous part of the journey survival. You have to get back to your master, a journey of several days, on foot through the wilderness, and the cold rain is your constant companion. This is a misery that legends never bother to mention. They speak of shadows and secrets, but they neglect the sheer physical agony of being cold. Not just a little chilly, but a deep, penetrating cold that settles in your bones and refuses to leave. You spend countless nights just like this one, huddled in a shallow ditch or under the meager shelter of a pine tree while the wind and rain lash down. You press yourself into a tight ball, trying to conserve every flicker of warmth. You might practice the Uzukumaru technique, crouching like a rabbit, a specialized breathing pattern, and muscle tensing exercise designed to generate a tiny bit of internal heat. It's a desperate meditative act, a small pocket of defiance against the overwhelming power of the elements. Military historians and survival experts still debate how anyone could function effectively after days of such exposure. The simple answer is that you barely can. Your teeth chatter so violently it feels like they might crack. Your fingers and toes, the first casualties of the cold, become numb, wooden things useless for delicate tasks. This is the onset of frostbite, and you know that if you lose a finger, your career as a ninja, and likely your life is over. You are constantly sick. The dampness seeps into your lungs, and you develop a persistent, racking cough that you must constantly stifle lest it give you away. Getting in touch with nature was not supposed to involve a semi-permanent case of bronchitis. The cold plays tricks on your mind. After a night of shivering, your thoughts become slow and syrupy. Delirium begins to set in. The shadows at the edge of your vision seem to twist and move. You might see the faces of your family, the ones you left behind so long ago, shimmering in the rain-soaked leaves. You have to fight to hold on to the precious information you risk so much to obtain, repeating the Lord's plans over and over in your head, a mantra against the encroaching fog of hypothermia. Your teeth are chattering out a frantic rhythm, a Morse code message pleading for a blanket and a warm fire, a plea that will go unanswered. And winter is only one half of the ordeal. Summer brings its own special brand of suffering. The oppressive humidity of a Japanese summer is like a wet wool blanket you can never take off. Your peasant disguise, which was merely scratchy before now, becomes a sweltering prison of sweat and chafing. And with the humidity come the insects. Mosquitoes, in thick whining clouds, raise angry welts on every inch of your exposed skin. Ticks and leeches find their way into your clothing. You are forced to remain perfectly still in a swampy marsh for hours on end, feeling them feast on you, knowing that a single slap could alert a nearby patrol. Whether you are freezing in a snowdrift or sweltering in a marsh, the effect is the same. The environment is your true constant enemy. It is more relentless than any samurai, more patient than any guard. It grinds you down, day by miserable day. It saps your strength, dulls your senses, and infects your body. The romantic image of a ninja moving like a silent god through the seasons is a lie. The reality is you shivering uncontrollably in the rain, your mind a numb haze, your only thought a desperate prayer for the sun to rise. You have the secret, yes, but first, you must survive the night. You finally make it back, a ghost emerging from the wilderness. You are gaunt, feverish, and still smell faintly of the latrine pit and the cold, damp earth. You find your master and deliver the information you gathered, reciting the whispered plans of the enemy lord with perfect, dispassionate accuracy. He nods his face, betraying no emotion. Your reward is a pouch of coins, barely enough to compensate for the risk, and a bowl of hot millet porridge that tastes like the most decadent feast you have ever known. There is no praise, no well done. You are a tool that has performed its function. You are dismissed. As you recover your strength in the relative safety of the clan's hidden village, a different kind of rot begins to set in one that no amount of rest can cure. It is a decay of the spirit. Everything you do, everything you are, is built on a foundation of lies and dishonor. You live in a society obsessed with honor, particularly the samurai class that you serve and subvert. Their entire world is governed by the code of Bushido loyalty, courage in the face of death, and above all, personal honor. They fight face to face, announce their names on the battlefield, and seek a glorious end that will be immortalized in songs and stories. You, on the other hand, are the antithesis of all that. You are a creature of deceit. You don't win battles. You prevent them through treachery. You don't face your enemies. You hide from them in the dark. You don't kill with a clean sword stroke in a duel. You use poison trickery or a blade in the back. The very samurai lord who paid for your information, who will use it to gain an advantage and win his own honorable victory, holds you in utter contempt. You are his dirty secret, a necessary evil, a stain on his honor that he would gladly erase the moment you are no longer useful. He despises you for the very skills he hires you to use. This hypocrisy is the bedrock of your existence. This constant state of disgrace eats away at your identity. You have been trained to be a chameleon, to shed your skin, and become whatever the mission requires: a peasant, a monk, a merchant. Remember the feel of those scratchy farmer's clothes. You are starting to feel more at home in them than in your own skin. At least the peasant has a name, a role, a place in the world, even if it's at the bottom. Who are you when you're not playing a part? The question haunts you in the quiet moments between missions. You are a collection of skills: how to move silently, how to endure pain, how to lie, but there is no person holding them all together. Your resume, if you had one, would just be a long list of successful deceptions. This erosion of self leads to a deep and gnawing paranoia. You cannot trust anyone. The man training next to you could be a spy from a rival clan. The woman who serves you your food could be poisoning it. Your own master could decide you are a liability and have you eliminated. Trust is a vulnerability you cannot afford. You learn to watch everyone, to analyze their every word and gesture for hidden meanings. Your people skills are now exclusively about identifying threats and manipulating others. This makes any genuine human connection impossible. You can never let your guard down, never show weakness, never share a true thought or feeling. Historians and sociologists still debate whether ninja clans develop their own counterculture of honor, a pride in their unique skills, or if they simply internalized the shame projected onto them by the samurai class. From your perspective, it feels very much like the latter. You see the way normal people interact in the market towns. You see farmers laughing together after a day's work, families sharing a meal, friends drinking sake. These simple, human moments are as alien to you as a foreign language. You are an observer, forever on the outside, looking in, separated by a wall of secrets and necessary cruelties. Your silent walk. The nuki-ashi you perfected is a metaphor for your life you pass through the world without leaving a footprint, without connecting to the ground beneath you. The lies become second nature. You lie to your targets, of course, but you also lie to your allies, to your clan, and most of all to yourself. You tell yourself that the mission is all that matters, that honor is a luxury for those who don't have to hide in latrine pits to survive. You tell yourself that you are a tool, and tools don't need feelings or friends. But the human part of you, the small, terrified child who was sold into this life, knows the truth. This soul rot, this hollowing out of your identity, is a wound far deeper than any blade could inflict. You are becoming a ghost long before you die, your personality erased by 1,000 necessary deceptions. You are a blank slate, a weapon waiting to be aimed, and the cold, empty feeling in your chest tells you there is nothing else left. The emptiness that has taken root in your soul is a quiet, chronic pain. But soon enough, you are reminded that your life also offers the more traditional, acute variety. During a climbing exercise, one you have performed 1,000 times, you slip. It's a momentary lapse in concentration, perhaps a consequence of the gnawing fatigue that never leaves you. You don't fall far, but your leg scrapes hard against a rock outcropping, tearing a deep, ragged gash in your calf. In a world with modern medicine, it would be a nasty wound requiring stitches and antiseptic. In your world, it is a potential death sentence. You are hauled to the clan's healer. He is not a doctor in any sense you would recognize. He is an old, gnarled man who smells of smoke and bitter herbs, his hands permanently stained with tinctures and dried blood. His medical knowledge is a chaotic jumble of folk wisdom, superstition, and practical, if brutal, experience. There is no concept of germs, of sterilization, of antiseptic. His bedside manner consists of a series of disapproving grunts as he examines your leg. You'd love to get a second opinion, but the only other healer in the village is rumored to be a big fan of just hitting injuries with a mallet until they stop hurting. First, he must stop the bleeding. He does this through cauterization. One of his assistants heats the tip of a short iron rod in a charcoal brazier until it glows a menacing cherry red. 2 others hold you down. You know what's coming. You try to prepare yourself to retreat into that silent place in your mind where you can endure pain, but the searing, white-hot agony as the metal touches your flesh is beyond anything you can imagine. The smell of your own burning skin fills the small hut. It works in a way. The bleeding stops the wound, sealed under a blackened, bubbling crust. But the healer is not done. Now he must apply a poultice to draw out the bad humors and promote healing. This is where the real Russian roulette of medieval medicine begins. Medical historians still debate the extent to which a ninja's supposed knowledge of pharmacology, or yakuho, was genuine herbalism versus pure superstition. Looking at the concoction the healer is mashing up in a grimy bowl, you're betting heavily on superstition. He mixes a sticky glob of miso paste with a handful of what looks like dried moss, some crushed beetles, and a generous wad of cobwebs plucked from the ceiling. The resulting paste smells worse than the latrine pit you hid in, which is a truly impressive accomplishment. He slathers this foul-smelling goop directly onto your cauterized wound and binds it tightly with a piece of unwashed linen. For the first day, there is only the throbbing pain from the burn. But by the second day, you know something is terribly wrong. A new kind of heat is radiating from your leg, a deep, feverish warmth that has nothing to do with the cauterization. When the healer removes the bandage to apply a fresh layer of his septic sludge, the wound is swollen puffy and weeping a thick yellowish pus. The smell is sickening. This is infection, a word you do not know, but a state you understand with primal certainty. You are plunged into a world of fever and delirium. You swing violently between shivering cold and burning heat. The leg becomes a single universe-consuming source of pain, a monstrous thing attached to your body. The skin turns a dark, angry red with ugly streaks running up toward your groin. The healer's response is to apply more poultices, each one seeming to add more fuel to the fire raging in your flesh. He mutters incantations and blows smoke over your leg, his folk magic as useless as his medicine. You lie on your thin straw mat, helpless. Your formidable physical conditioning, your ability to scale walls and move in silence is all meaningless now. You have been laid low by something you cannot fight, something introduced into your body by the very person meant to save you. This is the fate of the injured ninja. There are no clean hospitals, no life-saving antibiotics. There is only a dirty hut, an ignorant healer, and the high probability that a simple wound will lead to gangrene. You can see the fear in the healer's eyes now. He knows he is losing this battle. He speaks in low tones with your master. They are discussing amputation. The procedure is exactly as horrific as it sounds, a saw, no anesthetic, and a very high chance you will die from shock or blood loss on the spot. Even if you survive what use is a one-legged ninja, you would be cast out, left to beg or starve, your years of torturous training rendered utterly worthless. Your life now hangs by the thinnest of threads, not in a daring rooftop escape, but in a squalid hut at the mercy of your own body's ability to fight off a bacterial onslaught. All the enemies you trained to face the samurai, the guards, the rival clans, are nothing compared to the invisible army currently multiplying in your leg. This is the grim reality of your profession. The greatest danger is not the enemy's sword, but a simple, unlucky cut, and the festering false cure that follows. By some miracle of constitution, or perhaps just sheer stubborn luck, you survive. The fever breaks. The infection recedes, leaving you weak, emaciated, and with a puckered, angry scar that wraps around your calf like a serpent. Your leg is saved, but it will never be the same. You have a new permanent limp slight, but noticeable to your trained eye. It's a constant physical reminder of your fragility. But as your body slowly mends during the long, inactive weeks of recovery, you become aware of a much deeper, more insidious injury, the fracturing of your mind. You spend most of your time alone. Solitude has always been a part of your training and your work, but this is different. Before, it was a tactical state, a period of waiting or observing. Now it is a vast, empty room, and you are trapped in it with nothing but your own thoughts for company. And your thoughts you are discovering are not your friends. The paranoia that was once a professional tool, a calculated watchfulness, has metastasized into a genuine sickness of the mind. You lie on your mat, and you watch the shadows in the corner of the hut. They seem to stretch and writhe when you're not looking directly at them. You hear whispers on the edge of hearing a scrap of a conversation you overheard in the castle, the grating voice of the healer, the hiss of the guard geese. You know they aren't real, but the knowledge does little to comfort you. Your only constant companion is your own shadow, and some days even he looks a little shifty. The hypervigilance required for survival in the field has followed you home, and it has nowhere to go. It turns inward, eating you from the inside out. Psychologists and historians can only speculate on the long-term mental health of individuals like you. But modern studies on solitary confinement and high-stress professions suggest the effects would have been devastating. A life of constant threat, chronic malnourishment, and profound isolation is a perfect storm for a complete psychological collapse. You are living proof of that theory. The world starts to feel thin, unreal. The faces of your clan members seem like masks, their voices distant and hollow. You feel profoundly disconnected, as if you're watching your own life through a dirty piece of glass. The emotional numbness you cultivated as a shield has now become your prison. You feel no joy in your survival, no anger at your fate, only a vast, gray, empty bleakness. In moments of intense anxiety, when the walls of the hut feel like they are closing in, you find yourself practicing the Kuji-kiri, the 9 secret hand gestures, the symbolic cuts in the air. Your instructors taught them as a way to focus your will to channel your energy for a mission. Legends claim they grant supernatural powers, invisibility, superhuman strength. But you are not trying to become invisible. You are trying to hold yourself together. You form the signs with trembling fingers, Rinpyo, Dosha Kaijin Retsuzai Zen. Each gesture is a lifeline, a focal point in the storm of your splintering consciousness. It's not magic. It's a desperate ritual, a form of self-hypnosis to keep the screaming chaos at bay for just a few more minutes. The voices in your head are terrible company, but at least they're company. The long days of solitude are punctuated by memories that rise up unbidden, sharp as glass. You remember the face of your mother turning away, so she wouldn't have to see you being led away. You remember the sickening stench of the latrine pit, a smell your mind conjures up with nauseating clarity. You remember the look of surprise on the face of the first man you ever had to kill a lone sentry you dispatched on a training mission years ago. These moments play out in a loop, each one another crack in your already fragile psyche. When your master finally deems you fit for duty again, you stand before him a ghost of your former self. Your limp is a physical manifestation of the brokenness inside you. You can still perform the tasks. You can still climb and run and disappear into a crowd. But the tool is damaged. The weapon is flawed. You are sent out on another mission, a simple surveillance task in a provincial town. You put on your peasant disguise and melt into the background as you have done so many times before. But now, the role feels less like a disguise and more like a relief. The empty-headed, shuffling peasant is a quiet, simple person to be. He isn't haunted by shadows that move on their own. He doesn't have to perform complex hand signs just to keep his mind from unraveling. The isolation of the mission is no longer just a professional hazard. It is a terrifying abyss. As you lie hidden in a hayloft for 2 days, watching a merchant's house, the silence presses in on you. The loneliness is a physical weight. You are a phantom detached from the world of the living, and the long, silent hours are a slow, steady drip of acid on your sanity. You are a mind broken by solitude, a walking specter haunted by the life you've been forced to live. And the worst part is you know that the only cure for this agony is more of the same. More missions, more solitude, more shadows. You complete the surveillance mission. For 2 days you lie in the hayloft, your mind a fractured landscape of shadows and whispers. But your body, the broken tool, still performs its function. You watch the merchant's house, noting his visitors, their arrival and departure, times the sigils on their attendants' clothing. You return to your master with the information, a dry, factual report delivered in a monotone voice. He takes the information to the samurai lord who hired your clan for the task. A few days later, you are summoned. It is time to be paid. You don't meet the lord himself, of course. Such a man would never deal directly with a creature like you. The payment is handled through your master. He hands you a small cloth pouch. It's light. Inside, there are a few dozen copper coins and perhaps 1 or 2 silver pieces. This is your share. For risking your life, for enduring the filth of the latrine pit, for the infection that nearly cost you your leg, and the madness that is now eating your mind. This is your compensation. It's enough to buy food for a few weeks, maybe a new pair of straw sandals. The hazard pay seems to be missing a few zeros. This is the great unspoken suckiness of your profession. The pay is terrible. You are a highly specialized operative with a unique and lethal skill set undertaking missions of immense strategic importance. Yet you are paid like a common laborer. Economic historians of the Sengoku period still struggle to quantify the exact value of these payments, but it's clear the ninja were never part of the economic elite. You are mercenaries, yes, but you are from the despised and ignored lower classes. You have no leverage. You are expendable. Sometimes the payment isn't even in coin. It might be in rice. A common measure was the koku, a bale of rice considered enough to feed one man for 1 year. For a particularly dangerous mission, like the infiltration of the castle, your clan might receive a few koku. After the master takes his significant cut and the clan's overheads are covered, the food, the upkeep of the village, the blacksmith's materials, you might be left with enough rice to feed yourself for a few months. You risked a horrific, torturous death for a year's supply of the same bland porridge you've been eating your whole life. There is no retirement plan for a ninja, no 401k for shadow warriors. You work until you can't anymore, either because you are killed or because you are too old or too maimed to be effective. Remember that permanent limp from your infected wound. It's a mark against you now. It makes you a less reliable asset. It's a pre-existing condition that lowers your value. Your master might start giving the prime assignments to the younger, fully intact trainees. Your earning potential, which was already pitiful, is now in decline. You learn that you are essentially a gig worker in the most brutal economy imaginable. Most of you are hired on a mission-by-mission basis. A lord needs some information or wants a rival to have an unfortunate accident, and your clan gets the contract. It's a success fee model. If you are captured or killed during the mission, your family gets nothing. There is no life insurance policy, no survivor's benefits. Your life is a gamble, and the house the samurai class always wins. They get their information, their political advantage, and they do it with minimal, deniable expense. If you succeed, you get your handful of coins. If you fail, you become a ghost story told to frighten other samurai, and your family starves. You look at the pittance in your hand, and you weigh it against what you have endured. You think of the years of agonizing training that shattered your childhood. You think of the constant gnawing hunger. You think of the crude, unreliable tools that could betray you at any moment. You think of the cold, the rain, the fever. You think of the crushing dishonor and the soul-destroying loneliness. You have paid for this mission with pieces of your body, your mind, and your soul. The Lord who hired you paid for it with pocket change, the equivalent of what he might spend on a single ornate tea bowl. This economic humiliation is the final nail in the coffin of your self-worth. You are not just a dishonorable tool in the eyes of society, you are a cheap one. Your life has a price tag, and it is shockingly low. The lords who employ you see you as a disposable commodity, less valuable than a good horse or a well-made sword. At least those things are cared for, polished, and prized. You are used, abused, and cast aside with no more thought than a broken piece of pottery. You take your coins, bow to your master, and limp away, the hollowness inside you now complete. You are a weapon that costs almost nothing to deploy and nothing at all to lose. Your life continues a grim cycle of risk and reward, except the reward is always hollow, and the risk is ever present. You take on another mission. This time, it's not espionage, but sabotage. A simple task: sneak into a fortified granary belonging to a rival clan and set it alight. Depriving an army of its food supply is more effective than killing a dozen of its soldiers. You move through the night, a familiar spirit in the darkness. Your limp is a dull ache, a quiet companion. Your mind is a gray fog, but your training is a bedrock beneath it. You reach the target, but tonight, your luck runs out. As you work to unlatch a window, a stray dog, one you didn't account for, begins to bark frantically. A light appears in a nearby barracks. A voice shouts. Suddenly, the compound is buzzing like a kicked hornet's nest. Your window for a silent escape vanishes. You abandon the mission and flee, melting into the shadows, your body moving on pure instinct. You navigate the maze of the compound, aiming for the outer wall, but they are ready for you. Your escape route is cut off. You find yourself cornered in a small, enclosed rock garden. And there he is, blocking your only exit, silhouetted against the torchlight, is a samurai. This is the moment you have trained your entire life to avoid. While martial arts enthusiasts love to debate a hypothetical fight between a ninja and a samurai, historians are largely in agreement about the outcome. It is not a duel between equals. It is an execution. He is an ironclad killing machine. He wears a full suit of yoroi, intricate plates of lacquered steel and leather bound together by silk cords. It's designed to stop arrows. Your pathetic throwing stars will do nothing but scratch the paint. On his head is a horned kabuto, a helmet that protects his skull, neck, and shoulders. And covering his face is the mempo, an iron mask wrought into the snarling visage of a demon, complete with a horsehair mustache. It is an expression of pure, terrifying menace. He is not just a man. He is a walking embodiment of war. You, by contrast, are wearing a thin cotton tunic. Your only armor is the toughened skin you earned through years of being beaten with sticks. He is a tank. You are a man in pajamas. He draws his sword, the katana. It slides from its lacquered sheath with a soft, hungry hiss. The steel is a masterpiece of the forge, folded thousands of times its edge, hypnotically sharp and harder than any metal you have ever touched. It glints in the torchlight, a sliver of deadly beauty. You hold your kunai in your hand, the cheap, heavy iron trowel, feeling like a child's toy in this moment. You do what you are trained to do. You try to distract and escape. You flick a shuriken from your wrist. It flies true, but bounces harmlessly off his armored chest with a pathetic tink. He doesn't even flinch. You reach into your pouch and throw down your last resort, a smoke bomb. It's a small clay pot filled with gunpowder and chemicals. It bursts at his feet with a satisfying pop and a cloud of acrid smoke. For a moment, he is obscured. This is your chance. You dash to the side, trying to slip past him in the confusion. It doesn't work. A steel-clad arm shoots out of the smoke and grabs you by the throat. The grip is like iron. He lifts you effortlessly off your feet and throws you back into the center of the garden. You land hard, the air knocked from your lungs. The smoke clears. He stands over you, his demonic mask seeming to sneer. There is no escape. The time for tricks is over. You scramble to your feet and assume a low fighting stance, your kunai held before you. It's a feudal gesture, an animal baring its teeth at the tidal wave that is about to consume it. He advances slowly, his armored footsteps heavy and deliberate on the gravel. He raises the katana, holding it with two hands. The movement is fluid, practiced, economical. There is no wasted energy, no theatrical flair. It is the simple, terrifying grace of a master butcher about to do his work. You lunge a desperate, hopeless attack, trying to get inside his reach, to stab at a joint in his armor. He parries your attack with a contemptuous ease. The force of the blow vibrates up your arm, and your kunai, your cheap, brittle tool, shatters the blade, spinning away into the darkness. You are left holding a useless cloth-wrapped handle. You have a brief, crystal-clear moment of understanding. You see your entire life, the squalid village, the brutal training, the lonely missions, the gnawing hunger, the festering wound, the creeping madness, the pathetic pay. All of it, every miserable second, has led you to this. To be cut down in a forgotten garden by a man whose face you will never see. He strikes. The katana slices through the air with a sound like tearing silk. You try to move, to dodge, to bring your training to bear, but your body, your magnificent, tortured, highly conditioned body, is simply too slow. The blade enters your side, just below the ribs. It cuts through your cotton tunic, through your skin, through your muscle, as if they are not there. The pain is a blinding, white-hot flash, an explosion of pure agony that erases all thought. And then there is nothing at all. The world does not end. The blinding flash of pain is followed by a profound and enveloping silence. You are no longer in your body. You are a detached observer, a silent witness to the final, pathetic chapter of your own story. Your body lies crumpled on the raked gravel of the rock garden, a dark stain spreading out from beneath it. The night air, which a moment ago felt cool on your skin, now begins its work of stealing the last vestiges of warmth from the flesh you once inhabited. The samurai, the ironclad killer who ended you, does not linger. He shows no triumph, no remorse. He takes out a small piece of rice paper from a pouch in his armor and meticulously, methodically cleans the blood from his katana. Your blood. To him, it is simply a substance that could tarnish the pristine steel. He inspects the blade, gives a satisfied nod, and sheathes it with that same soft final hiss. He turns and walks away, his armored footsteps crunching on the gravel, leaving your corpse behind without a second glance. You are not a worthy opponent. You were a pest to be exterminated. For a long while, nothing happens. The torches still flicker on the compound walls. The clouds still drift across the starless sky. The world continues utterly indifferent to the fact that you have just been violently removed from it. Eventually, two low-ranking foot soldiers, Ashigaru, arrive. They carry a rough straw mat between them. They look down at your body with expressions not of anger or pity, but of weary annoyance. This is just another unpleasant task at the end of a long night. They do not handle you with care. They grab your limbs, the legs that were conditioned to run for days, the arms that were strengthened to climb castle walls, and roll your lifeless form onto the mat. One of them grunts at the weight. The other curses as he gets your blood on his sandal. They wrap the mat around you, creating a crude and unceremonious shroud. They drag you through the compound, your head lolling and bumping against the ground. There is no dignity here. There is no respect for the dead. This is how trash is taken out. They haul you to a small, seldom used gate at the back of the castle grounds. Outside, the walls is a ditch, a place where garbage animal carcasses and other refuse are thrown. This is your final resting place. With a synchronized heave, they swing the mat and toss your body over the edge. You land in the ditch with a dull, heavy thud. The soldiers dust off their hands, turn, and walk back into the fortress, their duty done. The gate closes, and you are left alone in the darkness. No one from your clan will come for you. They can't. To try and retrieve your body would be to risk exposing the clan, to admit that one of their own had been caught. You are an acceptable loss, a failed investment to be written off. Your master has already forgotten your name. Your family, the one you were sold from, will never know what became of you. They will simply wait for a son who never returns, another ghost, swallowed by the endless wars. As dawn approaches, the scavengers arrive. The first are the crows, their black eyes glittering with cold intelligence. They land near your body, cautious at first, then bolder. They hop onto your chest, their sharp beaks pecking and tearing at your clothes, then at the soft tissue of your eyes and lips. Insects drawn by the scent of blood begin their work. Flies lay their eggs in your open wound. Ants create busy highways across your skin. A wild dog drawn from the forest gnaws at your exposed hand. This is not a burial. It is a dismantling. It is nature in its brutal, unsentimental way, reclaiming the raw materials of your body. It's a subject that art from this period rarely depicts, but archaeologists occasionally find unconsecrated graves or scattered remains near old castle sites. Some historians theorize that these jumbles of bone buried without ceremony or marker could be the final resting places of failed spies and infiltrators just like you. Your bones picked clean and scattered by scavengers might one day be found by a farmer who will simply toss them aside as he tills his field. This is the end of the line. All that pain, all that training, all that suffering, both physical and mental, it all ends here in a foul-smelling ditch, becoming food for crows. There is no funeral pyre, no chanted sutras, no tombstone to mark your existence. You are erased from the world as completely as if you had never been born. Your life was spent in the shadows, and your death is a final anonymous surrender to the darkness. Your body, the only thing you ever truly owned, is gone, and no one is left to mourn its passing. Your bones have been scattered by animals and turned to dust by the patient work of time and weather. Your name is forgotten. Your life, a brief, painful flicker in an age of fire and blood, has been utterly and completely extinguished. You have been erased, But the idea of the ninja, that is just getting started. As you watch from your place beyond time, you see the world change. The century of war that defined your life, the Sengoku Jidai, finally burns itself out. A lasting peace, enforced by the powerful Tokugawa shogunate, settles over Japan. The fighting stops. The castles are no longer on high alert. Samurai, with no wars to fight, become bureaucrats and administrators. And the people no longer living in constant fear grow hungry for entertainment. They want stories. They want tales of the chaotic, violent past they are so glad to be free of. And the figure of the shadow warrior, the mysterious spy from the age of war, is simply too tempting for storytellers to resist. This is how the myth is born. In the peaceful centuries of the Edo period, your miserable reality is exhumed, cleaned up, and given a glamorous new costume. Remember that all-black suit from the kabuki theater that becomes your official uniform. It's sleek. It's cool. It's mysterious. It's so much better than the lice-infested peasant rags you actually wore. Your crude, unreliable tools are replaced by a whole arsenal of ingenious gadgets that never fail. Your shuriken now strike with deadly, unerring accuracy. Your grappling hook is a silent, flawless device. It all looks so much more reliable than the junk you were issued. The storytellers aren't bound by the grim laws of reality that governed your life. They can give you powers. You aren't just a stealthy infiltrator anymore. You are a master of illusion. You can disappear in a puff of smoke. You can create duplicates of yourself. You can run across water. Some storytellers even claim you could shapeshift or summon giant magical toads to fight for you. You watch this, a silent, bodiless ghost, and can only feel a profound sense of cosmic irony. A giant toad would have been incredibly useful. It certainly would have beaten hiding in a latrine. Your motivations are rewritten too. You are no longer a desperate, low-born mercenary risking your life for a handful of coins from a lord who despises you. In the new stories, you are a loyal retainer, fighting for a noble cause, or a rogue hero fighting against tyranny. You are given a code of honor, a purpose, a tragic backstory. Your grim, silent death in a forgotten garden is replaced with a noble sacrifice or a thrilling rooftop duel against your arch-nemesis. It's all much more satisfying for the audience. Modern historians and folklorists can trace a direct line from these fantastical Edo period fictions to the 20th century ninja boom in movies, comic books, and video games. The myth you are watching being born will one day conquer the world. The image of the silent, black-clad superhuman becomes a global icon of cool. Children will dress up in plastic ninja costumes for holidays. Adults will watch movies where impossibly athletic heroes perform feats you could only have dreamed of. And no one will ever know the truth. No one will remember the gnawing hunger, the festering wounds, the soul-crushing loneliness. No one will know about the constant biting cold or the humiliation of wearing a peasant's filthy clothes. No one will remember the cheap, brittle tools, the pathetic pay, or the terror of facing an armored samurai. No one will ever know how you were cut down and left for the crows in a ditch. Your entire existence, with all its agony and misery, has been completely paved over by a heroic, exciting, and utterly false legend. You were a real person who lived a terrible life and died a lonely death. You have become a fantasy, a piece of fiction for others to enjoy. And that is the final, most profound reason why it sucked to be a ninja. Your suffering wasn't just ignored, it was repurposed as entertainment. Your pain became the foundation for a myth. You would never see a cool story built on the ashes of your forgotten, agonizing life. And so the story of your short and brutal time on Earth comes to a close. The visceral reality of your struggle fades, leaving only the faintest echo, a whisper beneath the noise of the legend that has replaced you. The sharp edges of your pain, the biting cold, the gnawing hunger can now begin to soften and dissolve into the quiet of the past. Your watch is over. The frantic scramble for survival, the constant fear, the weight of a life built on shadows, all of it can finally be laid to rest. There are no more missions to undertake, no more castle walls to scale in the dead of night, no more need for the crushing vigilance that stole your peace and fractured your mind. The ghost that was you can finally dissipate its purpose, served, its tragic tale told. Let the silence that follows be a comfort, a gentle blanket settling over the harsh terrain you were forced to walk. The struggles depicted here are long since turned to dust, a distant memory belonging to a world that no longer exists. You are safe now, far from that time of war and sorrow, resting in the quiet comfort of your own room. The soft hum of the fan, a gentle lullaby easing you toward a peaceful and well-deserved sleep. Let the darkness be a friend, a soft curtain drawing closed on a difficult journey, and allow yourself to drift, to float, to let go.